Welcome to Forgotten Art History, the podcast where we uncover the hidden stories and overlooked masterpieces that shaped the art world. Behind every famous painting lies another story, one that's been ignored, silenced, or simply forgotten. Here, we'll bring those stories to life. Welcome to Forgotten Art History, the podcast that digs into the fascinating world of subjects in art history that get left behind. This episode marks the first one of this new podcast and this season, and I'm tackling one of the most important topics in the art world today. What about all the art and culture outside of the Western canon? To kick things off, I'm tackling a foundational concept for this question, the idea of a global art history and the elusive concept of the art historical canon. Is art history truly able to be global, or is it too deeply rooted in the Western perspective? And how do we decide what art is important enough to even remember? We'll be exploring all these questions in this episode, so to learn more, keep on listening. The concept of the canon is central to the understanding of art history. Gregor Langfield defines the canon as a process where specific aspects of culture are established as crucial, important, or exemplary. Historically, this dates back to figures like Polykleides from ancient Greece, whose sculpture was canon for human proportions, and Giorgio Vasari, whose book The Lives of the Artists of 1550 established the lasting canon of Italian Renaissance artists. A canon lays claim to permanence and universal validity, independent of time and place. It prevents an institutionalized hierarchy of artists and styles that is widely accepted as self-evident. Although, as we will see later in this episode, there is a strong trend towards moving away from the focus on this Western canon, it would be silly to remove its impact on the study. Regardless of personal opinions, the Western canon has left a huge mark on the discipline of art history. Langfield points out that we don't talk enough about how the artistic canon, or the list of works that considers the greats, actually was created, but this important conversation because it reveals who decides what counts as good art and how our ideas of taste are shaped. At the heart of the debate is a big question. Are artistic qualities timeless and universal, or does the canon shift depending on society and the moment in history that creates it? Even while examining the canon today, there's a heavy influence of the, quote, dead white man. You can pull up any course catalog from a major university or the AP Art History 250 list and see that most of the required works or classes focus on the Western ideal of beauty and art. And of course, I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing. The works are famous and canonical for a reason, but when studying them comes at the expense of other remarkable creations is doing art history and its students a disservice. Because to be frank, there's a hell of a lot of amazing art out there. So why does the canon focus so heavily on the West? Well, to be frank, I could do multiple seasons on that subject, so I'll do my best to sum it up here. Answering the question requires a critical look at Western power and its historical impact, including imperialism and colonization. It's no secret that these forces have shaped the global social and cultural order. Predominantly white nations, especially ones like Great Britain, Belgium, and the United States, pushed their way into other nations, declaring their superiority in every way, shape, and form. This not only included economic and territorial advantages, but these countries sought to eliminate resistance to their rule by destroying cultural heritage. Tragically, in every sense of the word, this prevented these cultures from having their rightful place in the art and historical canon. This means it can be difficult to fully acknowledge and analyze art from a diverse global context without imposing Western viewpoints. Over the last 50 years or so, there has been a movement towards a more global art historical canon. Efforts to expand the canon to marginalized groups such as women, minorities, and non-Western artists have been fueled by the Marxist, feminist, genderqueer, and post-colonial studies. One of the most famous examples is from Linda Nochlund's Why Have There Been No Great Women Artists? It highlighted the institutional barriers rather than inherent lack of talent that prevented the canon from being made. And if you haven't read this article, I highly recommend it. Nochlund also brings up a great point. She cautions against concepts like counter-canons or pluriversal canons, suggesting they might give false impressions of equally valued, independent canons existing harmoniously. This could conceal the very real, very objective hierarchies that still exist within the art field, meaning that all the hard work that goes into understanding global art and culture would be lost once again. In conclusion, the global challenge in art history isn't just about expanding geographical scope, but critically examining the foundational structures and the power dynamics that went into shaping our understanding of art. As Langfield notes, art history inherently contributes to the prominence of certain artists and forms. The key here is to develop a self-awareness of how the canon was formed and how aesthetic judgment, power struggles, and socio-historical context are intertwined with one another. Ignoring any of these aspects, whether the formal qualities of art or the extra-aesthetic, political, and ideological forces, prevents an understanding of the canon. Because at the end of the day, it's about reminding ourselves that art is a record of all humanity, not just those of us that live in the West. The canon isn't static. It's incredibly dynamic, constantly being shaped by diverse actors, institutions, networks, and discourses that should be collaborating and competing with one another. Developing global and transnational perspectives is a new challenge that faces us, and it will undoubtedly have further effects on what we consider canonical. And that's one of my goals here at Forgotten Art History, because art and history are meant to be stories of who we are, all of us, not just some of us. Thank you for joining us for a very special first episode of Forgotten Art History. I hope this deep dive into the global challenges and canons of art history has offered you a new perspective. My goal was to set the stage for an amazing season ahead filled with some lesser-known art and historical cultures, and I look forward to talking with you then. You've been listening to Forgotten Art History. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and if you want to keep the conversation going, connect with me at accessible.org.